Most insane backdrops of my life. Welcome to Khao Sok National Park. In my opinion, this might actually be the most beautiful place in all of Thailand. The limestone karsts just stretching right out from the waters, which is just absolutely insane. I've never in my life seen anything like this. I've seen mountains across the world, I've seen the Rockies, I've seen the Andes, I've seen the Alps, but never have I seen anything that looks like this. And another cool thing about Khao Sok that most people don't realize is that the tourist infrastructure is fairly well developed, but especially right now in July, beginning of July, it is low season, so there's not very many people out here. I haven't seen another tourist other than our group in probably about half an hour, and it's just so peaceful and calm, and you can really see why it's so important to preserve national parks like this. A big part of what excites me about Khao Sok National Park is the wildlife that resides here, which include giant hornbill birds, which look similar to toucans. If you go really deep, there's a very small chance of tigers, but I do believe there are still leopards and mountain lions here. There are wild elephants, there are boars, there are so many different species of jungle life here. Gibbons that live in the canopies and you can hear them howling at night. So, in my life, I've traveled to many places, but none like this. I've been to beaches as beautiful as Koh Tao and Koh Phangan were. It was incredible there, but this is probably the most unique place I've seen in my life. I've never seen limestone cliffs like this, the tiki huts that float on the water, and the wildlife that complements everything here. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to find some of those and shoot some of those animals and really document as much as possible. Ecotourism is what breeds here, and that's why I think it's so important to visit places like this that are trying to improve conservation and ecotourism for the conscious traveler. So the last set of bungalows we went to, we got completely rained out on. That's why they call it the rainforest. Total tropical storm, as hard as rain as I've pretty much seen anywhere. But now, job right now is currently take photos, videos of the exteriors of these bungalows, get some shots. Then we're gonna keep going, probably hit up some more bungalows later, and we're going deep within the park, couple hours deep, to the point where there's only about 1 to 2 tourists a month that end up going where we are. So this is gonna be as in-depth and as detailed of a Khao Sok vlog as you can possibly find. So we've probably been at these bungalows for close to an hour and have not seen any other tourists but us, and we're about to make it our way to the last set of bungalows, ones where we're going to be staying at. Gonna shoot those, have a good time. Yeah. So nearly every single bungalow here is completely vacant, and for most of July and the beginning of July and most of June, that's typically what happens here. So it's very much low season, and if you come to Khao Sok National Park like we have, you basically get the entire lake and the entire park to yourself. I have barely seen any tourists in the past few hours, and we're gonna go even deeper and deeper into the park. We still have like another hour and a half, 2 hours of boating, so we get to where we want to be. and we have just passed like the limestone cliffs and mountains, and now we're getting deeper and deeper into the jungle, into what traditional jungle looks and what you expect it to look like. So this is gonna get crazy. Gonna go somewhere where very few people have the opportunity and chance to do so. So if you're as into biodiversity and wildlife as I am, this is probably the coolest thing you can possibly do. One of the nice things about Khao Sok National Park and Thailand in general is that you can find different accommodations for whatever your budget and your needs are. So these bungalows are a lot more student budget friendly, like for someone like myself, whereas the ones before were the more luxurious, expensive honeymoon sort of suites that they have over on the lake, just back there, right in the limestone mountains. Now the nice thing about being away from the mountains is that when you get closer and closer to the jungle and to the plains or the rolling hills here, is that you actually have access to easier views of wildlife. So sometimes out here you can find herds of elephants, wild elephants that are just roaming the fields or roaming the hills and the jungles as well. Whereas when you're in the more rugged terrain near the limestone mountains, near the karsts, it gets a lot more challenging and difficult simply because you can't really hike or climb over such steep terrain, and it gets a little challenging. So out here, even though it's a little cheaper and your accommodation isn't quite as fancy, there are some benefits other than price. So after about like 2-3 hours on the boat, quite a while, we made it deep within the jungle, here to the wildlife sanctuary, where we're gonna be spending the next 1 or 2 nights here. We're gonna be doing some night safaris on the paddle boards, checking out some of the wildlife that lives here. Unlikely that we'll see any leopards or panthers, but we might see some boar, we might see some buffalo, and might have some good times. So this is definitely not what I was expecting, but I'm pleasantly surprised. This is exactly what I like to do. Come to places, find the spots that very few people go to, hit them up, and have experiences that very few people get to. And this is exactly what I get here. 6:30 in the morning here in the middle of the jungle in Khao Sok National Park. About to embark on a huge hike in the middle of nowhere. You gotta wear these leech sock things because apparently the leeches are really bad. I was very grossly underprepared for this. Didn't bring pants, so it should be an interesting day. It's not even 7 in the morning, and across the river it's really hard to see. I don't have a zoom lens, but there is a wild elephant. This is wild. Start of the day off with the elephant. Hopefully that's a metaphor for the rest of the day, that the hike can be full of wildlife, biodiversity, and jungle life, because that was magical. And then apparently, according to park rangers here, that elephant has been chilling here for about 8 years now. He's a lone orphan male elephant. Elephants usually typically travel in herds, so it was a little weird seeing him without that here, but nothing short of just being truly special. All packed up and ready to go on the most biologically diverse excursion of my life. Hopefully see some more elephants. Not likely, but hopefully. Hopefully see some gibbons, hopefully see some cool exotic wildlife that I wouldn't have found in Canada, because that would be the ideal situation. Just stopped here on the lake because we found a family of gibbons perched deep in the trees. Can't really see it on this camera, but we've been looking through the binoculars and we can see, I think, 3 of them. There's, looks like 2, I would guess the mom, the mother and the father, and then the juvenile. It's so peaceful. We just made it off the boat and landed where we're gonna start the hike right over here, heading in towards those jungles. We haven't seen tourists probably in a few hours, maybe a couple boats of other locals, but it's very rare to actually find people out here. So our opportunities for seeing wildlife are basically as good as they're gonna get. We have the ranger over there. He does have a weapon in case we do need protection from whatever wildlife we encounter. Definitely stoked. Gonna be a fun one. So the most part, the only Westerners that actually end up this deep into the park are those that are here on fishing trips looking for large fish, fly fishing opportunities, or the very serious eco-tourist. So we're really lucky to be this far. We also just spotted some fresh water buffalo tracks, so have to be quiet, aware, keep our eyes peeled. So far on the boat ride we saw a few monitor lizards, one really large one, saw a family of gibbons deep in the trees, a few hornbills, and then tracks of some gaur, and we can hear gibbons distant down over there. This is truly one of those places that you'd expect planet Earth to be filmed, not some random boy from Canada. It does look like there's rain coming up ahead, so putting the camera away now. I'll have my phone if anything is interesting to capture. For me, this is exactly how I want to be exploring some wildlife. Not in a zoo, getting out to the natural habitats of these animals, seeing if we can get lucky and seeing if we can find them. It's a lot more rewarding that way, and a lot better for the animals too. So we've made it pretty deep into the jungle already, just off of the river. We're keeping our eyes peeled for whatever we can find, whether that's gaur, which are basically water buffalo, macaques or gibbons in the canopies, birds, possibly snakes on the ground, or elephants. A ton of various things we could potentially see, and I'm so excited. So if you're coming out here deep in the jungle, really try your best to cover up your legs. If you have pants, wear them. I'm just in shorts and wearing leech socks, and probably had 5 or 6 leeches, small ones that I've had to get off me, off my hands too. Constantly have to be checking. Just one thing to be aware of. So we just finished the hike, heading back. Didn't really see much. It's been pissing rain for like 2 hours, but I can't complain because how many people really get to see this part of the world? It's definitely something special, even just like being here this deep in the jungle. I hope you can hear this. Unfortunately, the drone ain't working right now, otherwise I'd be flying it so much, but this is just ridiculous. So after 2 days, we finally made it back out of Khao Sok National Park. One of the best experiences of my life, just hitting up the lake, exploring, seeing all the wildlife, seeing an elephant in the wild, going deep into the jungle to the places nobody gets to see, seeing a few.